time. Time for our weekly conversation with Adam Terry as we get you ready for Syracuse and SMU, a Saturday 3:30 kick on the Eastern time zone down in Dallas. And Adam will be on the call, as always, for the Syracuse Sports Network from Learfield. Let's first put to bed the Duke game, Adam, which was one that you want to forget. Unfortunately, from the start, just felt like kind of the Pittsburgh game last year in a way. And I guess that's the hope here, that it was just one fluky game and you have faith in Fran Brown to right the ship this week.
Yeah, no, I think, when you look back on it, you referenced in, putting it to bed, that was a little bit of a nightmare, but it was one that just got away, right? Just like you're saying, when we look at the Pittsburgh game and how Kyle McCord with all the interceptions, you just got to put it to bed, move to the next game, and get prepared. You can't let this game, and it wasn't a great game by any stretch of the imagination, but you can't let this game lose you two more. And luckily for Syracuse, they've got this week and then a bye week, so you have the opportunity to get Ricky Collins to where you believe he can be. And I also think that we saw the progression with Steve Angeli at the beginning of the season and saw from week 1 to week 4 how drastically different he looked as a quarterback. And now that you're back at the helm, as Ricky Collins is back at the helm, getting all of those reps during practice, hopefully we see that distinct change week by week.
A lot of the comments this week, Adam, from the coaching staff, from Fran Brown, Jeff Nixon, have been sort of supporting Ricky Collins, defending him. And I know that a lot of the fan base just assumes that this is going to be the offense the rest of the season, and they're hitting the panic button over what they saw and the drop-off at the quarterback position. I guess I'll ask you to start out, how much of it was a drop-off at the quarterback position, and how much of it was just bad complimentary football, special teams backing him up, and it was a wave of things that felt like that went against Ricky Collins and put him in a tough position to succeed in his first start?
Well, it's hard to go in with your first start and win a football game at the quarterback position, especially with a rebounding Duke team that is now starting to establish themselves as a pretty good football team. The lack of complimentary football, right? Defense did not do very well, right? In defense, they got run over quite extensively, and that seems to be a recurring theme. When that defense breaks down, I should say, it becomes a recurring theme of not being able to stop the run. When they do that, I think they can play with anybody in the country. But you look at someone needs to step up in that role, whether that's the defense, they bull their neck, they get more opportunities back to Ricky Collins, and then Ricky and the offense just need to find out who they are, right? I think with Jeff Nixon, I'm always singing his praises, and they did not do well offensively, but it's also figuring out who you have personnel-wise, what they're capable of doing. It seemed as though you saw a lot of throws towards stationary people, and when I say stationary people, no deep balls down the sideline, nothing really threatening. And I'll have to go back and look at that statistically, but I feel as though you got to gear up the run game a little bit, take the pressure off the quarterback. When they start to load the box, now you can get the ball behind them. I just don't. He's not Steve Angeli, and he's not a Kyle McCord. But who is Ricky Collins? And that's what I want to see, right? I don't think we pigeonhole anybody into who they are. They play like so and so. What I would like to see is who is Ricky Collins when he is successful? What is he doing? Is it the short throws? Is it the mesh concept? Is it just throwing the ball down the field, down the sideline? Who is he? Can he make every throw? I assume he can make every throw, but then what's the comfort level of that individual athlete?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting how much the game plan or the playbook looks different this week. You mentioned it's a bye after this game. I guess, how much are you expecting them to lean into the ground game or look different offensively this week, knowing that it is still just Ricky's second start? And like we said, there were a lot of things working against Ricky in that last start. Are they ready at this point after seeing the first start to change the playbook? And maybe there's something to be said for you can try and catch SMU a little bit off guard and give them something that hasn't really been on film yet?
Well, it's a sticky situation because you've got a quarterback without a lot of experience, and then two, you're going to go into a hostile environment. So snap count, communication is going to come into play whether you have a veteran quarterback or you don't, right? And making sure that everyone is on the same page to me is paramount, especially on the offensive line. And then from there, you have to eliminate pre-snap penalties and alignment penalties, which I think we're getting better at. And then from there, now you can start to look at the quarterback and say, okay, what is going to be most successful to him? And I think we've got two great backs in Yasin Willis and Will Nixon. And how does that complement? Can we get the ball out into space? Are we distributing the ball a little bit differently than what we have? So I guess the biggest thing for me is, yes, everybody wants to see a difference in what Ricky Collins is doing, but then also let's not deviate so far with what we've started to see as the success of that offense, and then also too that success of the offensive line and how they have progressed week by week. So you're starting to see more guys into the rotation, which then allows for more flux when you've got a wide receiver who might not be in there all the time and may have only gotten one rep. So I think as much as you would love to say, hey, it's the Ricky Collins show as far as the passing, so on and so forth, you also have to look at what are the strengths of the team going into this week, going into a hostile environment.
Adam Terry is with us, getting you ready for Syracuse at SMU on Saturday. He'll be on the call for the Syracuse Sports Network from Learfields. So it feels like we've had both extremes here in the last 2 weeks. The fan base jumped all in on Fran Brown and extend this guy right away off the Clemson game, and there was a big high, one of the better performances of the Fran era. Then you turn it around, and now it feels like the fan base is ready, not all of the fan base, but a collection of the fan base is ready to say, oh, they're not going to win more than one more game the rest of the year. No shot they make a bowl, all that. And that's just how sports goes. It changes drastically. We saw it in terms of how we viewed the team when they played UConn versus how we viewed the team in the first half against Clemson and pre the Steve Angeli injury. What would you say to the collection of the fan base, not saying it's everyone, but I think there is a portion of the fan base that thinks this is kind of a lost season now, and let's just get ready for next year. What would you say to those fans after this one bad performance against Duke?
Fran Brown does not listen to the fan base in that regard, right? Yep. So I feel as though, yeah, you got to close the doors and you have to let the voice be from the top down, and that is, Fran Brown. Yes, guys are going to be on campus, and they're going to be hearing it, and they might hear it from their cousin or their uncle or their, eighth sister removed, whatever that is, and you're just in a situation where you have to silence the outside and listen to the internal voices and make sure that everyone is on the same page while they're doing this. And as far as the fan base, look, I got a lot of texts from people that I played with or people that I know and said, hey, the sky is falling. But I do believe that they will right this ship in order to make it competitive. Now, are they going to win every game the rest of the season? I don't believe that to be true. But if you were to tell me 3-2 coming into this week and then going into a bye week, I feel good about that, right? And yes, we didn't think the Clemson would necessarily be a win and that, and the other thing, but you're looking at the schedule looking forward. SMU is beatable, right? You just can't have either stupid penalties or put the ball on the ground. You need to be positive in the turnover battle because this team is explosive that they're playing against SMU. And then you look down that list of people and, you're looking at a UNC game and you're looking at a Pitt, you're looking at Boston College. Like, to me, those are winnable games. Yeah. And then you're going to go play those upper echelon teams, in a Notre Dame and a Miami. But that's where you need to go out and play, right? So for me, you're progressively getting better incrementally over this linear span to the end of the season. And look, we've got a lot of young guys that are progressing each week. We don't know who's going to be a superstar out there. And I like the progression of a lot of the young guys. When you look at guys on the offensive line, Byron Washington, he mauls people.
Yeah.
Right? Once he gets comfortable, he's going to be, I know Fran has said a top 10 draft pick. I think he's going to be a good player, and the sky's the limit, especially with that frame. Then you look in the secondary, we got young really, really quick when Devin Grant and Deuce Chestnut go down, or Deuce was not in there as often. You get young really quick, and there were a couple missed tackles in that back end, right? Now you're getting older, you've got more games under your belt, you start to get the nuances of that, a little bit of that wily vet that can go in there and do that, and then those are the big things. And we really haven't seen that big splash in the special teams yet, and I feel as though there's going to be something in our favor as a big splash in the special teams game as well.
Yeah, we know we can count on Jack Stonehouse anytime he's punting. He has been terrific to this point in the season. I guess when you evaluate the defense, Adam, and we've talked about it, there was missed tackles, and the defense needs to get better. Everyone's in agreement on that. What was Duke doing that was maybe different from what other teams were doing to Syracuse? And is there anything that you feel like Duke was doing that other teams might pick up on and incorporate into their game plan?
Offensively or defensively?
What was Duke doing offensively against the Orange's defense?
Yeah, they found a running back, right? And explosive. And you go into this week against SMU and you look at a guy like TJ Harden and what he's capable of doing and how he rushes the football, 5 touchdowns on the year. He's not averaging this, 100 plus, but he is physical. If you come to meet him in the hole, you better bring your whole body and a little bit of will in order to bring him to the ground, because there are a couple things on film. When you hit him in the hole, he does bounce off, and he has that speed and change of direction as soon as he can get out of there. So the good thing about this is it a little bit plays into Syracuse's favor with the style of offense that they have, right? They're not big maulers up front, and they're not going to try to go into 6-7 guys on the line of scrimmage to try to maul you. At least I haven't seen that yet. What this plays into the favor of is the ability to have the athleticism in the back end, usually 3 wide, 1 tight end, 4 wide. So that plays a little bit more into our favor in the scheme of what it is. It's just a matter of what I saw a little bit offensively that they were doing is creating a mismatch with Antoine Delorier when he was in coverage.
Yeah. And
whether that was, I believe, Taquan Johnson running some routes or matching up against the running backs and getting them out in space as well. So Syracuse just has to be aware of that. I think they'll address it how they need to address it. But to me, when you look at what SMU does and how they run, you got to look at the Duke film, but also, too, I don't think they're going to load it up or line it up as much as Duke did. And when I mean that, it's probably 1 or 2 guys removed from the box.
Okay, gotcha. What else stands out about SMU? They're 2-2 on the season, 2 losses to Big 12 competition. They still haven't lost a regular season ACC game because this will be their ACC opener, and they ran the slate last year, albeit a pretty easy schedule before they lost in the ACC championship game to Clemson. But this is a good SMU program. They've got a lot of money down there. They're getting some talented guys. We'll see Marcellus Barnes at the cornerback position. What do you make of what they're going to be going up against in SMU?
Well, a lot of money is an understatement when you raise $100 million in 7 days after you commit to the ACC. I mean, that's pretty significant. You look at Kevin Jennings and what he's capable of doing at the quarterback position. He's a guy with some speed and can throw the ball around. And, the primary recipient on the outside is going to be Romello Brinson. And then the guy in the backfield is TJ Harden. So, where this ball is going. But also with Kevin Jennings as well, he's thrown interceptions. He's averaging at least 1 interception per game. And for Syracuse, they just can't go. They have to be plus at the end of the day, not negative. And that's going to be a little bit of Johnny on the spot, being at the right place in the right time, and then offensively making sure that we don't put the ball on the ground. So a lot of the little things that you always talk about hold true. Minimize penalties, win time of possession, and then win the turnover battle.
Yeah, the Orange are 5-0 when they win the turnover battle under Fran Brown. So that'll be something we're always monitoring, including this week against SMU. It'll be a road game for the Cuse down in Dallas, and Adam will be on the call with Matt Park on the Syracuse Sports Network from Learfield. We appreciate the time, Adam, and we'll chat with you on Saturday.
Yeah, no, and Tim, one more thing on that, I think the heat is going to play a factor, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be in the 90s down there. That is something that when I saw it, my eyes bugged out a little bit. Now I got to pack some shorts for Friday. But, I think that is going to be one of the things as well, and it'll be exciting to see how it goes.
Well, and on that note, Duke was clearly running some up-tempo on Syracuse. We noticed that right away, right? That was more up-tempo than we were expecting maybe from Duke, and I think they did that for a reason, right?
They went up tempo and went aggressive, and I think SMU can and will do the same thing, especially in the heat. And I think one of the things that we have to look at is a little bit of that thinness at the linebacker level that Syracuse really just has to be on top of.
Yeah. No, it's a good point for sure. All right, Adam, we'll let you go. Enjoy the game on Saturday. Enjoy the game in shorts on Saturday, I guess, and we'll talk with you soon.
No, I don't get shorts on Saturday. All right.